Hi, this is Mark at Choya Choya Studio. What we've got here is an alligator juniper tree. And there's something I want to point out about alligator juniper. First, it's the alligator bark, which gives it its name, that resembles alligator skin. And if you'll notice, there's branches coming off all different places, below, above, all out of the trunk. And what this does, and the tree has sort of a twist to it. And what that does, it gives the grain pattern inside the tree, when you slab this, a twisting, gnarly, swirling kind of pattern with knots showing up all through the slab and all through the trunk. And if you'll notice, you notice how the alligator skin has a little bit of a swirl and movement to it, and that is also an indication of what's going on inside in the graining and the growth rings. So just something interesting about alligator juniper. In this video, we're going to sand this alligator juniper table, and I'm going to show you all the tools and processes that I use to sand it out to 220 grit. I have a complete video, either in the link is in the description or it's up here, that will show you the process. The entire video is the creation and finishing of this table. But in this segment, I'm just going to go over sanding. And the sanding that I'm going to talk about is using a palm sander to do your complete sanding project. I use a belt sander in this project, but I just use that in the beginning to get rid of the saw marks. So I'm going to show you what tool that is, but the rest of the work is going to be using a palm sander and all the different tools that we have here. The first tool that I'm going to use is going to be your basic belt sander. And this is a 4-inch belt sander. It's a cheap Harbor Freight belt sander. I use it because I can beat it up. I have an icer belt sander, but I'm not using that in this video. After using the belt sander, we'll be using a palm sander. This is a orbital palm sander. It's a DeWalt, and it's got 5 speeds. I set it on the highest, and I use it with just the rigid backer pad that comes with it. And with that palm sander, I use 3 grits of sandpaper, and these are all 3M sandpaper. I have an 80, 120, and a 220 grit. And I like these 3M because they're aggressive at every grit. They deplete pretty fast, but they're aggressive. You can see through them, and they make you look like Spider-Man, but they sand a lot better than that. So those are the 3 grits that we use. After using that tool, I go to a padded backer pad on a variable speed angle polisher. This is a Harbor Freight tool. It's got 6 settings. I set it on number 4. It runs slow, and I use this padded backer pad on it. The original pad on it is a 4-inch flex disc backer pad, and I attach the 5-inch half-inch padded backer pad on that, and then I put an 80 grit fairly rigid back sanding pad on it. I don't use the 3M pads on it because it wears them out too fast. I use the rigid because I need that extra support when I'm sanding the live edge. So this is the tool I use just before I start the sanding. So I'm going to take you through that process. Like I said, the alligator juniper, this is a sister slab to this one. And the alligator juniper, it's got a weathered live edge. It's not like some slabs that are maybe cut green and they have a consistent straight live edge around them. Alligator juniper is more dynamic because it grows gnarly and twisty, so the live edge is crazy. So this is what it looks like after it's cured, after it's been out there in the sun for a couple of decades. So it needs a little bit of cleaning up. There's two ways you can do it. You can try to keep it in its original form and not do much with it, maybe soft sand it just a little bit and leave it rough. But I like to clean it up and get it nice and smooth. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the entire sanding process, and then at the end of that sanding process, we're going to apply some natural Watco Danish oil. And I use the natural Danish oil. It's got linseed and polyurethane in it. It's a blend. I'm not sure if that's the exact ingredients, but most Danish oil and all the research I've done says that it has a linseed oil and a polyurethane. Different manufacturers use different blends, but I use that to sort of stain and raise the grain, darken it a little bit, and the oil gets in and penetrates the wood and gives it a nice protective coat. And then from there, I do a polyurethane application in several coats, which is in a different video than this one, but it's also in the video of the complete creation of this table. So these are the padded backer pads that I use with the palm sander to sand the live edge, because it forms to the live edge. It doesn't flatten or change the shape of the live edge. These backer pads I get online. They're 1/2 inch. And I Velcro 2 of them together, and I put them on the palm sander. Then I put my 3M disc on there, and I use that to do my sanding of the live edge without interfering with the natural shape of the live edge. When I'm doing the Danish oil, this is kind of a little secret that I use. I use a filler on my slabs that is a good filler, and I use this. It's a water-based wood filler. It's a white oak color. It's the consistency of peanut butter. It works great. When I have my slab completely sanded down to 220, I'll put an application of this on, let it dry, and within an hour or two, I can sand it off at 220 grit. It fills all the cracks that I don't want to be left on the slab. After I'm done with the filler, and I'm ready to do the Danish oil, I take my leftover sawdust from my sanding, and after I've slathered the Watco Danish oil on there, I'll pour the sawdust on the Watco Danish oil. I'll make sure there's plenty of it, and I'll mix it up and make a slurry out of it. And I'll rub that all over the slab and get it in any leftover cracks and crevices that I want sealed. And when that dries, when the Danish oil dries, it seals that sawdust into the wood, and when I go to my polyurethane coats, that further seals that sawdust into the wood, and it acts as a second filler. So that's the process that I'm going to take you through. We're going to work on this table. We're going to start with it looking raw, like this sister slab. And when we're done, it's going to look like this. The live edge, we're going to make as beautiful as we can, smooth and natural looking. So, I'll take you through the process. Let's get going. A little bit inside and outside the studio. I have a cart loaded with all my tools, and let's get started. I keep my sanding area covered with a blanket so as not to scratch the slab on either side when I turn it over while I'm working on it. Let's get started here. I've got a fan running over my work area here to keep the dust cleared out. I'm putting an fresh 80 grit sanding belt, 4-inch sanding belt on this belt sander. I like using a belt sander in the beginning because it takes the mill saw marks off of the slab a lot more aggressively than a palm sander. But after using the belt sander, I switch over to a palm sander for the remainder of my sanding.
I found this is, like I said, the fastest way to get the saw marks out. When I use the belt sander, I go side to side and front to back. Most people will tell you, teaching you to use the belt sander will tell you to go front to back rather than side to side, because it's like you're planing the slab and you don't create any low spots. I do it both ways. I find that going side to side with my belt sander removes a lot of the saw marks a lot faster, and then I follow that by going front to back, and it keeps my slab planed out. I do both sides. I sand both sides of the slab equally from beginning to end. I'm trying to film this whole project, the full scope of it, in real time by speeding up the playback so we don't miss anything, and you kind of get an idea of the full scope from start to finish, and we don't miss anything. If I had to add up the cumulative time it took to finish this project, minus like drying time and time between processes, I'd put this somewhere around 6 hours. I'm switching to an orbital sander here, and I'm using a 5-inch 3M 80 grit sanding disc on this. And I will sand the entire slab behind the belt sander, and I use the same grit so I can just make sure I get any saw marks from the belt sander that I might have missed. And I'll do about 3 different passes with the orbital sander in different directions, and with each pass I notice I can feel the surface of the slab smooth out and even out with each pass.
Golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire.
This is an angle polisher variable speed with a 5-inch padded backer pad and an 80 grit sanding disc. I use this to clean up the end cut part of the slab and the live edge.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire. golden sunlight.
Here I'm switching back to the palm sander, and I'm using an 80 grit pad, but I'm using a 1/2 inch backer pad. I'm actually stacking 2 of them together, and I'm putting the 80 grit on the backer pad, and I'll use this to sand the ends and the live edge of the slab. It saves me a lot of work in hand sanding in the tight places because the padded backer pad forms to the shape of the live edge, gets into the crevices, and it doesn't flatten or change the shape of the live edge.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side.
Here I'll get in and wire brush any tight spaces on the live edge that I can't get to with the padded backer pad on the palm sander. Here I'm going from the wire brushing to some hand sanding in some of the tight places where I can't get the padded backer pad into, and I'm switching from this rigid sanding pad to the 3M mesh sanding pad here in just a second because it forms a little better into these tight places.
Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire.
Now we're switching to 120 grit 3M sanding pad on the palm sander. The next grit in the progression, we're going 80, 120, then 220. After we do the face of the slab, then we'll switch to the 120 grit with the padded backer pad and sand the live edge and the ends. Here I'm switching to the padded backer pad and the 120 grit 3M sanding disc to do the live edge and the ends of the slab.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire.
Here I'm doing a quick switch to 220 grit on the palm sander, and then a quick switch to the padded backer pad at 220 grit.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire.
I'm blowing this off really good here because after this 220 grit sanding, I'm going to apply a wood filler and let that dry, and then come back and resand with 220 one more time. So I want to be sure I can see and identify any cracks or crevices that I want to use the filler on. This is a water-based wood filler that I use. It's the consistency of peanut butter. The brand name is Good Filla. It's a wood filler, like I said, water-based. It goes on easy. I use gloves. You can smear it on with a plastic spackle or your fingers with gloves. It gets deep enough into the cracks and crevices. It dries fast, and it sands out really smooth. It's titled, again, it's called Good Filla. It's white oak is the color that I use that matches well with Alligator Juniper. It takes a little while to get it on there, but you just have to be thorough. I do the top, the bottom, the ends, and I use my fingers and I smear it on the live edge side. I just take my time, get it in every little crack, so that I don't have any visible open cracks in this once it's sanded with the 220 grit sandpaper. Music, please.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire. Never the same. Never you calling my name, I'm taking my sweet time. Hey, whatever the plan, I know I'm holding the best of me out of my head. I know you always understand. Bring me into golden sunlight.
At this point, I'll put the slab out in the sun, or if it's not a sunny day, I'll put it under a fan. And in this New Mexico arid climate, it's dry in about an hour and ready for 220 grit sanding.
Catching a breeze, love moving through me like a wildfire, like a
Okay, this is ready for 220 grit sanding. I have a 220 grit pad sanding disc loaded on the padded backer pad on the palm sander, and we're going to get to this last sanding stage. This is the final sanding grit, 220. There's a lot to sand off. I think this is going to be a long one, even at 10 times speed. So sit back and enjoy the show.
sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side. Sinking in, I know this feels right. Catching a crazy love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire. Never the same. Never you calling my name, I'm taking my sweet time. Hey, whatever the plan, I know I'm holding the best of me out of my hand. I know you always understand. Bring me into golden sunlight.
The last thing I do on the 220 grit sanding is wrap one of the soft 3M sanding disc around a sponge and get in the little tight places at that final grit.
Catching a crazy love moving through me like a wildfire, like a wildfire.
Pay close attention here because I'm going to put a coat of natural Danish oil on this table, and I'm going to reveal one of the tricks that I use for sealing any little cracks that were left over during the filling and sanding process.
Bring me into golden sunlight. If I'm going with you, I know we'll get to the other side.
This is Watco's natural Danish oil. I apply it very generously. I slather it on the entire face and sides of the slab. I don't worry about excess or spilling it over the sides because when I'm done, I'll wipe off the excess. After slathering the slab, I pool a good bit of natural Danish oil on the top of the slab for this next step. I take the fine dust, sawdust, juniper sawdust from my palm sander. I sprinkle it on the top in the pool of Danish oil. Then I take and I rub it and make a slurry out of it, a thick brown slurry. I try to keep it as wet as possible. I spread it all around the surface of the slab to get it in all the tiny cracks and crevices that may have been missed in the surface from the filler. Then I take that and I rub it on the sides into the live edge and on the ends, and it gets into the small cracks and lines on the live edge in the juniper. Juniper characteristically has long lines on the live edge, and this is one good way of filling those lines, those cracks, and filling any cracks in all these little tight crevices on the sides and the top of the slab. Multiple coats of polyurethane and a polyurethane top coat will seal this in. The next thing I do is I take a terry cloth rag and I gently wipe off the excess Danish oil and any excess sawdust on the top of the slab. I try not to get I try not to rub it too hard so I don't rub any of the sawdust that has soaked into the cracks off of the slab. I'll wipe cross grain so that I don't wipe any of the excess out of any cracks. So we'll fast forward through this side because it's done just like the top side. And now that we've got the Danish oil process complete, we'll put this under a fan, let it dry overnight. The next step would be multiple coats of polyurethane. That's in another video. I hope you enjoyed this and you learned a lot from it. Thanks for watching.